So yeah, putting a list like that, yeah, I didn't realize there were so many of them. John Venari, rest in peace. He mentioned this term. I think you could coin it. The Catholic Woodstock is essentially what World Youth Day. Is that something that's pretty accurate? Would you say in your experience?
I certainly think it can be. And so, also for people who aren't aware, John Venari helped co-author a book. It's a good book to learn more about World Youth Day. It's actually my bedside reading right now. I've been going through it as we get ready, and he put a number of articles in CFN, which I'm going to see if we can't dig some of them up and repost them at the Fatima website. As with many things in our church these days, I would say it's such a mixed bag, and you can look at it from a lot of different sides.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Definitely, there is that element. I think it's undeniable that Catholic Woodstock element, and that's sort of like the negative element, the very negative element. Um, there may be some very minor redeeming things. We might talk a little bit about that in a minute, but I do think that's a fair thing to say, and I wouldn't mind describing it that way. Sure, yeah.
Well, talking about the Catholic Woodstock, I think it begs an answer. Why exactly is the Fatima Center going then?
No, I think that's a great question, Alfonso. And I think it's incumbent on us to address that, especially for our viewers and our supporters. Um, because I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect that we'd be going to this. As I mentioned when I was rattling this off, I mean, there's been a lot of World Youth Days. What was it? I don't know, 15, whatever number it is. And I'm not sure if the Fatima Center's gone to one. As we mentioned, John Venari went and did some reporting on it. So someone might say, well, what is the Fatima Center doing? I think
Right.
we have to be clear on that. The first thing for everyone to understand is we're not going in any sense of like participating or having a role, or let's say we've even been invited by the powers that be, the authorities that run it. That's not in the
Right.
sense that we're going to participate in any of the events, because we wouldn't. We would figure that would be highly scandalous. It would be wrong.
Right.
Um, Rather, to be honest, there's a couple of reasons, I think. One is there's a logical connection because this year in 2023 August, it's going to be in Lisbon, Portugal, which means it's just about 80 miles or 120 kilometers south of Fatima, where Our Lady appeared in 1917 and brought us this message that is the only solution that will solve the problems of the world. So just that geographic connection and proximity. When the third secret begins, we all know that famous line that
Right.
in Portugal, the dogma of the faith will be preserved, and then it cuts off. We don't know what Our Lady continued to say. It couldn't even have been an if statement. Did she say something like, in Portugal, the dogma of the faith will be preserved if this and this happens or doesn't happen? We don't really know how that statement finished.
Right.
But there's always going to be an interest in Portugal because of Fatima there for this apostolate. So there's a natural connection. But I don't think that would have been enough. I'll be honest that internally, we started getting calls, phone calls, and emails from donors, people who support the Fatima Center and wanted to know if we would go there. They
Oh.
basically said, look, we know World Youth Day is not a good event, and the faith is not being presented well there. Neither is the message of Our Lady. And it's a travesty because Fatima is so close. In fact, it's hard to imagine that some of the people that go to Lisbon won't actually just make the 80-mile trip north to Fatima as well, once they're out there. And they said, you have to go out there and you have to tell these people what the truth is, what the truth is of the Catholic faith. You have to tell them the message that Our Lady brought, because it's probably not going to be part of the official agenda within World Youth Day. And
Right.
I'll be honest that when it was presented to us that way, it felt like a responsibility. Once again, it was our donors calling and telling us, honestly, I don't have an interest in going. I wouldn't want to go. I would never send my children there. So I understand when people sort of like raise their eyebrow and go, what's the Fatima Center doing? We're not sort of going there because we were like, hey, let's go. No, it's a burden. It's a responsibility. It's a cross to carry. But it's a
Right.
recognition that this is also, where we can go out and fish. Our Lord always was sending the apostles out there, cast your nets out into the sea and fish. You got to bring in everybody. And there's going to be a great pool there of people who could possibly, maybe we can talk about that in a minute, who could possibly be receptive to the truths of our faith and of Our Lady. And it might be remiss on us to miss that opportunity. So that's why we're going, and that's what we're asking our donors to support, so that we can get the message of Fatima, the true message of Fatima, and as well as just what the Catholic faith really is to young people from all over the world. This does present a unique opportunity for us.